Lage Jesu Jibi Sunam Jin Dola Binji Sanjin Duwa Isha Sanji Chedan Suji Shana Changja Bade Dani Jesu Jin Dage Jesu Jibi Sunam Jin Dola Binji Sanjin Duwa Isha Sanji Chedan Suji Shana Lai Changja Bade Dani Jesu Jin Dage Jesu Jibi Sunam Jin Dola Binji Sanjin Duwa Isha
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ani da kan kame da yin zu tuwa dila ni samu da yi sha yin sira yine di ani an zu chitsu sumba shi ani shi ba da tuwa tne ji kapsa ani an zu de dolin de che yin la ra da an zu ten ma mu tin do was.
I'm sure like all of you gave the question that I put to you some thought, but for the moment I want you to hold on to those thoughts, and we'll go in detail with those thoughts and we'll discuss about it in the question and answer session that we have later on in the evening in the 3:30 to 4:30 session. But for now we will continue with the text first.
Tata yi ni pa de jin di bai ra a sumba de che bore tata yi yunye pang be la ra yunye phayu pwa je se la le yin la tata da di kar la na yen ba ten go ba ne che dang zo chi sang yi sing da de jin ro de ba yin na ani ngang zo sang lo ta ya de la chi nyam ne chue nyam ne che la ka le ka bai ra de yin sa tan da yunye le de yunye ba ji du ja de ne kela o ma ka da ngang zo la chue che la ya ba che je sa gi 사실 신경 차오들이 방고 된거라 근데 지가는 유 엠바스니들 되어이나 아니 직추 냠네 채나 공부 냠네 달로 가르쳐이나 되지 유야래와 달에 타이로 어디 된시된 거래 되네.
So in the second stanza we discussed about how we need to abandon like the bad places or leave behind one's own homeland, and now in the third stanza we talk about how we need to take to like solitary places to cultivate the Dharma. Now this is because like in a we say we should abandon like or leave behind our own homelands, or like we should get away from bad places because by their own nature in these places and in these situations there's an inherent like chaos, or they are chaotic in nature, and so like there is not much chance for you to actually practice the Dharma. So this is why on the third stanza the author implores the reader to know that the practice of the Bodhisattva is to abandon these bad places and abandon one's own homeland, and to take to solitary places where you have like the opportunity and the time and the environment to actually practice the Dharma.
Tatanda di la ra hando de phi chi de ne yunye pambe la da yunye pambe nyu rim chi dib le di chesan de yunye ba sang sing de chi singcha chao da ki chao da kharina mota ina kharina de sang sing de de wa ina ani ngang zo lo jong che ba ina gom du nyang le che tu ma resra de yunye pambe ani kisi de ge use cha sang sing de pa wa ina ani ngara zo khala na mare yunye pambe nyomo rinji de wa de ge yunye ba de pa wa ina 아니 간조 녀모 바다 간조 지클로 마rum바도 제야라 아니 도조마 메추추도 그서 렌지 디블레데마 제뉴도 두레스 아니 딘데 이템바이나 단도 제바 가르레 펜도 가르요라나 네 딘데 빵와이나 나메 메바 간조 나메 메바 차로 생생이 메와이나 간조 셈바 인사요 마르와 셈바 인사 메와이나 아니 간조 게와두라 게숑디 제야기 고고야 보라기레 딘데기 아니 그 게와라 소바야 콘데 페도 레스라 네, 근데 인자 상이 생데 지기 자르저르 메와 인자 아니 간주 리바데야 당보 감세부로 줘라 리바 담배 아니 취라 니해체 제선 소소기 취체와이나 가리 곰체와이나 바템보도 띵서부도 두고래스 계신 가지고 상상이나 아니 로디 세부치 마차와체 로야 상상이 도운디가라 아니 취 치신데 러주치니나 취치니나 곰제는 가리는 세부치 레토고 말했으라 제선 리바 담배 다기 띵간 두주 유두주 녀바도 바빠와이나 아니 리바 세부차그래 세부차와이나 아니 취랑이 해죠 취베 녀바템보니 두에글 바띵서부치 두고래스 딘데 인자 아니 엠바템바디 제셀라네 레스 유 엠발라 아니 땡고와디 아니 제세 상주 삼바도 저기 줘 냠네 냠네 레라
So, as one abandons and gets away from these bad places, or as one like leave behind one's own homeland, then there is less distraction for you, and you are not so caught up with like meaningless activities all the time. So as you take to like solitary places, naturally compared to the bad places mentioned in the second stanza, your like destructive emotions, they naturally have like a less chance to arise within you, and then like you have less distraction in solitary places where like there is no one near you and it's quiet. Then like you have the actual chance to take a look inside yourself. And then with this, most importantly, in such a solitary place, then you are more aware of yourself, you are more mindful of yourself, because you are not so caught up in like meaningless activities, and then you have like less distraction. So on the third stanza, it says the practice of a bodhisattva is to take to solitary places. So the reason to take to solitary places is because, as mentioned in the second, third, and fourth lines, we have less distractions. And we're not so caught up in like meaningless activities. As such, these destructive emotions have like lesser opportunity to arise within ourselves. And without distraction, then of course we have the chance to look within ourselves. And then most importantly, this solitary places implores you to live more mindfully, or like to live more with more awareness.
pena roshan to da ngan tham ha gora onju gi sa ja sin sha pena chonto da mi ma on zom de de chi la ngan te bro chi lo la na pe lo ka wo da lo wa ina ngan ju sim la che ngi ma ra da pena yu yen ba de sa ja pena di so ro da chi so sha la so ro ro ka gu sim bu je la ni te lo wa ina kya gi te di lo pa di ge de da ha ko je la ya chik mi la la na o din na de du lo ni chi la ya ba de che gra ki si sang sing je ni kya gi te lo wa ina tambo ale yakullo tugu mare lo na yapu ngengi mare jel mi ji tiwatne seula ya ma tende du sam so la ya ma ting sabu jinge tu mara che san de ne embal te wa ne kyorangi tambo lo da sana ta ani o jel de du la ne pe ngim bat tambo ge une tende de chi la she du la la ya ju che do te o ta pe na de do shi res.
So let's talk about this example too. Like let's say like you are reading a book, and then like you're reading it in a moving bus or in a very crowded place. Then like you do not there are like so many distractions around you that like it will be really tough for you to truly enjoy or truly understand the meaning of that book. But if you read that same book in the confines of your own room or in a quiet place, then of course like this book you're able to enjoy more. So this example could be likened to taking to solitary places, because in solitary places, if you are able to study the text in a solitary places, then of course you have more opportunity to contemplate on these topics that are being discussed here.
le tang ko baro titan dita karlana yerin joben zashi soso tes chitang anzo ge chisu yerin bun ndo de ni zashi la de injime ye je karana so phama inare pingya inare thobo thomo inare zanda chiba inare soso ge leche inare ta khanda tila mabu du chodra tende ge ane yerin joben zashi 아니 소소체 니마질 카테로 가즈뭐 가즈녀는 뭐 대화에는 니마질 가서 카테라 어제 아니 베베두베 소소기 깔레슈 지전에 니엔다 첸다 지기 아니 밀 카데오시는 데 제와이나데 소소 깔레잖아 저딱 간다 가서 노지 사샤 주저와 근데 노제디 아니 시 니모들 아니 상마 샤네 되야라면서 가서 갑지다 그 라발라 케어라 그거 봐지다 되지 아니 다 간조기 류디에 카르샤올라나 간조기 칼로 정칸도 샤오레스 거리긴 동안은 남시디 대세긴 동칸도 시레 지난 정바디 간имо 간데 동안은 니마가 두다 가지되어는 니마치코 동칸데 카테도라 디나시기 나란주기 아니 류딘 동칸 나시지 남시데 간좀 정보 나시데 니마치 된 남시데다 아니 류디 카테고레스 가다디 치와데 치와마다거든 오라 지제 진짜 인자 아니 첸들로다 제셀라레인데 첸딩 가서 가르모 가르모이나로 쇼저누된 로자 아니 그 주주든지 쉽지니시다 담려와 된대지나 가서 따바템고 지요 말티 나로라 아니 대화지 중간에 콜롱가 주주주다 된지 된대지기 대화라면도 사제기 다투기 대화되는 말아로 미처럼 가지 된대 요 말와 된대 인자 첸들랑 저기 르 땅라디가라 첸드 가르나나 나주 신의 수지 된대 르 땅라 말아야 고단지로 첸들랑 저기 베 첸디기 대화를 쉬우지 신차체네 아니 근데 제주요 말 첸디기 대화도 때서 가르스나 쉬우쉬우는데 최고야 쉬우 말했으라 조등한스나 아 사제기 고반다 아니 다투기 대화도 들려미고라 근데 인생 첸들로다 제셀라니 라고냐 첸들로다는데 수수주불 자가치야 맞지 나나 나주 찬데 들려고 말아
So now we move to the fourth stanza, and the fourth stanza illustrates the impermanence of this impermanence of our existence, and as illustrated in the first line of the stanza, it implores us to renounce this life's concerns. Now, when we say like renounce this life concern, it doesn't mean like you should not take care of your health, or you should not like try to look after your own sustenance. But this means that like all the worldly concerns that we are so caught up with in this life, they are all actually impermanent in nature. For now, it is illustrated in the second line. If it reads, "For friends and relatives, long acquainted, must all go their separate ways." So, due to our attachment, we have this like clinging to our friends and to our relatives, our parents. So, even though we have spent a lot of time with them and we have grown like very close to them, in the end, even like these parents, friends, relatives, we must all go our separate ways, because in the end, at death, we part ways with each other. And then in the fourth line, it talks about like material possessions and wealth that we like acquire with so much effort, and this is as a human being, we spend so much time and effort in like in acquiring material wealth and like possessions. But like even these possessions, when we die, we cannot take them with us. So it's given the example, like, you know, when you pass away, like you cannot take even like a small needle with you. And then in the third line, it describes that this physical body that you have, that you take so much care of, that you like are so concerned about, when you die, then this physical body it's just like a guest house, and this mental consciousness that we have that passes through the next life. When we die, this mental consciousness is compared to a guest, and this physical body is like a guest house. So we are here only for a temporary, on a temporary basis. So this fourth stanza, it teaches about the impermanent nature of our of worldly phenomena, and it implores us that the practice of a bodhisattva is to renounce this life's concerns, or this worldly concerns, and reflect on the impermanence of all things.
Kizi di shu tsawajne pere shawaina pen anzo yerin robin da shi ngangi tela da shi susu tela na pen anzo ngara zola jungsha jo pen ngaro shane ngi popo mo samudro sara tanda palaina do se tende do digala kanbo karine kate do ta mao ba thewangi bare ra ani pena ta diwo de le siji de la kharla na ore tandigidu tende do ina Kuranza da popo momo da di gangange popo mo sama dosara nyama zamni gal thema chi chungore ani droshe da na ngazo ina mitu ne resra tile di gal so thewala de di thewa che zom di chile zom re de nyama chi thewo res ne bebe du no de shuji lu le de ngazo di khara ha ko da na pe na ngazo chi gekhani ba de de mo da ga ngazo ha ko da 나가마 제부도 그런 완차 표시다니 아니 배제간도 지부 가와도 때 간지 또 나는 버스 장장이네 콘도 들어차도 티슈도 나도 다야도 콘도 개코치 키토이면라 띵가 저가 가르쳐 거는 아 콘도 니마 깨라 첨부 체베 우리랑 완차 첨부 와유시다 간데 되는 거 돼. 다야고 되는 간데 그 심마 딱 갈래 접셔 주지 전도도 단다 샤도 통도 세상 키도예요 말이야 띵가 저 배천치 차고 레스라 다 리진 가나힌 dom보다 다가나시데 가난서 시위가라 아니 류생 카트도 그런 미디 시선는 가족이 풍부들 다 메라다임시 콜 다보지니 가족이 보보모모 이나데 수수기치 파마이네 디 풍부를라는 가족 냐니 비주다 요마라 티카잖아 다 남히다 아니 풍부니디 카트서데 덴데 아니 남히다 로차디가라 아니 풍부다 아니 마지 디마카 리도 먼저를 딜 비주 제요마 근데 인자 아니 코메라다 아니 친구들 나시다 자하시 켈렌이지네 야 심발은 사줘야 돼 되는 도와라 근데 인자 제상아도 상노마다를 마신 알아 저기 지기 니레니를 통돼야 되는데 지레라
So now like I'll try to illustrate like the examples in this in the last 3 lines with further examples. And normally we do not really think about it, but like all of this we see in our own in our own actual lives. For example, the second line, for friends and relatives long acquainted must all go their separate ways. If we kind of think about it, like we all have like grandfathers and grandmothers, and then like old people in our family. And now like when we think about it, like there are instances like when they have passed away, and even though they were so near and so dear to us, and we had spent a lot of time with them, but in the end, like we are left here and they are gone. And now today we are here, but in the future, when we have like grandchildren, then like one day we must part ways with them. So this is quite evident in this example in our own daily lives. And then in the second and third line, wealth and prized possessions painstakingly acquired must all be left behind. So this is like something illustrated like when we visit a museum or an ancient palace. When we look around, like these kings and these queens, they have like acquired so much wealth and so much possessions, but the kings and the queens themselves, they are no more. So they are not able to take these possessions with them in the afterlife. So so that's an example. And then the third, in consciousness, the guest who lodges in the body must in time depart. So like when the consciousness, it breaks apart from the body, then this is called death in Buddhism. And then like this body, this physical body, it is of no use now. Like when we see the physical body at the burning pyre, then like we realize the impermanence of this physical body.
tadi tsiki ngawa di karteng na tobo ngimba pangwa la tindra tongye pang de inda ta tongye la di karlam la na pena de tobo ngimba di an tagi mara do de shena timu sun ya phechuni ra tongye ba la de jila shawra khanda thona la de de kande mi kande chile de ki tobo kande chila wasna khanda thona dusun phechile de benen de shena timu sun ya phewa 패치니 페어 주니기 강사디 상가도 조봉이 맞더라 조봉이 발란도 냐마다 따상이 베드도 라고 말라 간지 딜 디급스다 나가서 것은 녀모도 두숨 마빠야기 갑래 종일에디 가르고라나 두숨도 야 패주니지나 딜 조봉이 맞더라 파기 미기 따서단 찌기 딜라 쓰고 말해 제자 던데위인자 아니 퇴상 공배에서 자완염지바 아니 수수교 지 퇴바다 삼바다 공부 던데기 자와집이 내걸래 아니 제마주치네 딜라 아니 뇌제다 아니 벌시치니 던데들이야 조봉이 맞죠 그래서 아니 다 간에 안 찍거잖아 장한다 희제 매바 제자 던데위 가서 찍래 장바예요 말 희제예요 말에 파기 이제라 장바체야다 제와체야라 던데기 희제로면 이제라 삼는 가야 마다니 수수집고 되는 디스산이 던데기 로다 dengi 가사달라야 아니 제가 조봉이 버서 그래서라 상당 희제 매버 주제 제가 근데 아니 도방 연바디게 가르쳐준 배워주니다 아니 퇴선 검선라 아니 제마주니 근데도 가르쳐서는 아니 상당 이제 매바 차주고 레스라 근데 이 집이 근데 아니 도방 연바디 빵배 제셀라니 근데 이들은 아주기 가두이나 베링다인라 빵라디가 콜로 두포타 근데 신이 최고에 말 소소딜 타린도야다 딩냠도 마디야다 아니 근데 제야다 아니 개점 레스라
So now we move on to the fifth stanza, and the fifth stanza it talks about how you should avoid bad company or like bad friends. And the first line it reads like the practice of all the Bodhisattva is to avoid destructive friends. Now, like how do we define a bad friend or a bad company? And now it is illustrated in the next three lines. A bad friend is someone in whose company, like the three poisons, they grow stronger. Like when you are in their company, like your negative afflictions, if they are like more prominent when you are in their company, then this is a sign of that you are in the company of a bad friend or a bad circle. And then if you are in a circle of friends, or you are in the company of a friend wherein you do not get the time to study, reflect and meditate on the Dharma, and or when you are with them, then the amount of time that you spend in study and reflection diminishes or lessens, then this is the sign that you are in the company of a bad friend, or you are in a bad circle. And then the third characteristic of you being in a bad company or in a bad circle of friends is that there is no place of love and compassion in that circle or in that company, and then it's always if they are always pursuing selfish things, and there is no sense of love and compassion in that circle, then you should realize this. You are now in the company of bad friends. So the practice of a bodhisattva is to put some distance between yourself and such a circle of friends or such a company.
Di episode shanara pe do this session kon ya shi pe na to bong yimba la yan dam be na zo ta chung na sama mi shi zo na de re su ta ro ban dam tu go ra du du ga la ni ngan zo kashi ha go da pe ko ji semba le shi de mi ji ro ji ke je shi na ke ji zu bo ra semba ma ji ro de shi de nin do ani ji ge nga ji je ju ya cha do je ju yen de ji ju gi den de gi mi yimba chi na de la zo ko le du bu de tang go ye ma de su su ge lo di ta control chimut ma ka ma tu na ra ante staring de go ya ke chim res ra dandu e tuba je ge ko nyam do ani ji ge control lang hi lang gi nyam do na su su ge kalor nyumo tu sun do per do ma shi nyu do ma ra de ji ba ha ko na ante su su ge ya zobaro gom tu ni de chu nyam ne chi tu ni da do ra ta dil ma ge chung ko nga chi la nge pha chi la andi ge mar do ina de le ta rin de na ya ra
So as we all have to live in a community, I'm sure we all meet a lot of different people. So we can maybe try to relate this to the experiences that we have when we meet new and different people. And sometimes when we meet people, different people, we run into people who are very mentally disturbed, and when they talk, they use very rough and harsh words. So in such an instance, if you are able to cultivate if you are able to practice tolerance, then it is very good. But then if you are not able to cultivate the concept of tolerance or to practice tolerance when running into such a person, then the wise thing to do will be to try to put in distance between yourself and that kind of person, rather than engaging in pointless arguments with them, and then in turn giving rise to these negative emotions in yourself.
지지 단도디게 지진 단도디를 이바로 상다 증안이 바 퇴선 공배 자와 냠치실레리 치다 당들로 좀 지니지나래 추념네 지니나래 수스테브로 줄로니 나래라 딘데질래야 간조게 알로 마치는데 가서 냠네 치모다 샤지다 선이 지주를 나니 지 가서 칼을 트이다 던더니요로 다이나 단도데 좀 좀 미침버려 딘데도 지니에나 미시데 간다 지기 내가 지금 말해야 돼 같이 해야 된대로 올라더니 무식으로 된대로 수수가 따야다 라 진짜 좀 다른 다야다 수수기 레비쇼라야 아니 레샤든 나니들라 다 니어도다 수수가 벌레니 제 계심으로 문제지
So like now an example for the the second last line in the stanza would be like someone like when you are trying to read a text or read or study a text, and then like someone comes around, one of your friends who comes around and like who actually like teases you, and then like kind of like pressures you to procrastinate about like studying and saying like this is pointless, we can do this anytime we want, like for the moment let's go and do something else and try to distract you. And then like of course you have to like put the boundary, like okay, I'm not gonna like engage in that kind of company.
the 딜을 지금 숨바도 책도 아디가라 상당 희제 메발라 주르치체를 치다 상바다 희제 메바서 얘기 된대야 강사 베나다 메지라 상보죠 로버도 치긴 정말 샤샤실래죠 그래서 연구를 로버 치고만 내봐도 샤실라니 양 그런 데스 치 그런게 상바다 희제 체색이 유들 제마주네 데 샤주던데 지도요 말에 내봐 마죠 지처랑이 미쪽을래 gembar ta an tansu khare de noni mambudo as korogros lega chindi do chero chema junia kaya joro keno ki gewala chumbuji dugusan duma junia and de che ndiga duya na tharin tangora kidang de ngam sandu tangwo marum shinga misi tanglo le chungde gor nyire nyire khare tu de gora chidang adu sunu shu chaush ta wana yigi bugu chunju na jena pero shawa na sanu khoda jora ra nande de ande do le na jamjo sanu ta sa mara cheda 디 패션을 드니실라지 아니 간 니마 니 가르쳐 볼라나 맞아 가이라이 된데로실라 된데지 투선은 아니 그러니까 어디 현자지도 어디다 최고야 임바르고 내가 아니 마치 경고 차를 내가 차를 말하라 니 마치 로벌랑 거실에 와라 그래서 나마도 제왕 하시던데 켈렌이나 그냥 단대 채워야 야고 채워야 마음 붙이는라 아니 레 장보사야다 지금 밀리터야 나 사다 된데 채워내야다 타나 아니 사지 고마다기 주차고가 내가라서는 마다네 그러게 미치 뒤집어산다나 아주 경고 차를 내봐 차를 아주 딱과 땜부치 대지 마라 제가 수수기 시투디가라 야고 채고라 다디 지마주나 아디 고마를 샤샤 된데라는 된데서디니들라 디야방고 레스토랑
So now, like, if we talk about an example of the third kind of bad company, then I would like to give you the example of like this must have happened to you, like when we are like trying to help someone. For example, let's say like we're trying to help some elderly people, or we're trying to give some money to the beggars that we see on the street. Then we run into people like our friends that say like, why are you acting weird? You don't need to do this, And then when you try to give some money to the beggars, then they'll go like, how many times are you gonna like give money? There are so many beggars in this world. Are you gonna give like money to all of them? So like they stop you from like doing the small good thing that you want to do. So these are like all these examples that are given in the text. These actually, if we think about it, this happen in our day to day and in our like general life, and this is why like kagisure tagi di pejada ni meze ngone lai de khande sungre
pecha
dinala da pesha yor sungra ni meze ngone na la khande sung
da dinalo la ga da pecha na de sunra tadi pecha na de sun jongye ba and la de khatro ngem ba khare na chitara jora mal khadi tu ina ha ma 그래서 막은 님은 투디 거라. 라 디디갈 덴데지갈 알레 페샤나 순지 덴데지레시는 수수 자르 상다이도 비치.
So this is why you must try to relate like the examples that are given in the text to your own life experiences and your own life, because like when it's said like these are the type of bad friends, then we feel like we have to imagine like this kind of bad friends, but when upon like closer introspection, these are the type of people that we meet daily in our life,
zamda ngam so endra tep chi lo tep na la yore la ra tep na la yore tep ye ge sha la chi na la di na lo ngam so no ta ma shin ju ra ka ji shib ma shi lo phagi ma ro di ga la ko sam ta ma chi ba ro che da ki di ga lo ne ngam so nyam ni ta le ma tu ro ra nyam ni chi la ni ji mi ji di be zo mi 좀 shu che go ya ma ra ima nga ngo ni chu chi ni na le da chi na ge chi na da ngam so chu che la ni ji 기름도 디 저저 데미 좀 내다 디 치치와 쓰고라 중문에 오늘 가르려나 이만이만이 라네 따야 돼 냠네 치나 봐 데브로 라버지로 아니 데브드 카제사는 냠도 수수기 산호다야 돼 카제사는 따다 치고 라 근데 인상 하나 사마 춘도 집어 말한 거라 치고 사마 치고 애들이 라 얘들이 뭐 저들 제랑 하나 쉬고 치기도 말해 아주 사마 치고 그런 사마 집어 지냐래 라 근데
So now, like, to give, maybe we're all guilty of this. Like, now when we are trying to study a text, then we feel like, okay, now these are the type of things that that happens in our real life. But then, like, we close the text and then we put it on a shelf, and then we don't really tend to think about like what has been taught. And then only when we like take it out of the shelf, then we feel like, okay, now these are the things that's being talked about it. But this is the sign of a lack of like meaningful practice. Because a real meaningful practice, even though like a Buddhist practice, when you imagine it, you feel like it's full of rituals, full of like different postures, and full of like customs. But that's one part of like the Buddhist practice. But the sign of a true practice or a sign of a true Buddhist practice is to try to like have a meaningful practice in our day-to-day life and try to like transform our like mental state into a positive state in our day-to-day life.
그나서 랑가를 저디디 통도라 부든지 춘주는 부여 춘주는 통마다 한다 랑가는 부지 주게나 다소소기 통 맞어인다 미티 제라 미우니 지기 서라 상와이나 팔렌 랑가 수라 샤야로 라 아니 지 겐고로 지잘라 그마든지 로바체로 안 네버로인 수디수인 지 병안 태고이네 기주 치고이나 아니 지게 콜라니 산타다 마히나 랍제저 도저 상황도 니마니마니마 체라 대상 폰을 히나 히에르 카이라이 카투돈 로바체르 this is something that color다 들어 가서 수수기 개와사에 주지가 밀어 편도체에 뒤쳐라
So if we think about this way, think about it this way, then like the opportunity that we have to practice the Dharma is endless, because in our day-to-day life, like we have the opportunity to help a lot of other sentient beings. For example, like when we see like a small insect on the side of that has strayed into like a motor road, then like if we're able to push the insect away into like its own natural habitat where there's grass and everything, then it's a small like practice that we can do. Or like helping someone who doesn't speak a language to go to some like administrative office, or to try to translate for them when you take them to a hospital, then that's a time and effort that you can put in to practice the Dharma. So if we think about it this way, then the source of earning good merit, or like the opportunity to practice the Dharma in our daily lives, is endless.
근데 제고 말을 나오는데 인지미 제고야 제고 말스라 메제 나로라야지 수수께 제시는 돈나 되나 파트로 바치는 참말라 제여라.
So when we say we need to engage in practice, it doesn't necessarily mean like you have to put on a robe, you have to shave your head and take like renunciation vows, or become a nun or a monk. Of course, when you do that kind of thing, of course, you have more time and you have the more opportunity to practice the Dharma. But if you are being practical, then like it's not necessary to become a nun or a monk, or to put on a robe to practice the Dharma. Dharma can be practiced in small ways in our everyday life.
운이 춘 냠네 치네 제마 라니로 치다 당도 곰바라 산데는 미 콘돌라니요 말에 그라 원파즈든 시츠부시라를 말라 곰바라 산데 갱겐도 랍제 친주가는 저나 약보치 버는 시츠부 베주다니요 말에 아니 치 코로나 칼에 저바 검고야기 니요 말라 쇼쇼 상이 생이 미팅하고 인지민지기 지기서바 검사다 콘도 빵사다 개문다 당도 수도는 만도 민담을 두고래 수습고 된다 저가 된다 남이 된다 누구 된다 가리는 마부저라 티도가는 지기서바 검사다 지 라네 따서기 마부지다 근데 잠자 된들면 냠내 원데 미자기 수도나네 유에 레스타무드라
Well, if I'm being frank with you, like sometimes when I think about it, like I feel like lay person or lay people, they do have like the more opportunity to practice the Dharma, because as a monk or a nun, we live in a very like very regulated and very calm environment wherein everyone has taken the vow, and our gurus, they implore us not to use harsh words, and we are all cordial with each other, and somehow like we live in this like very calm environment, and as such we do not really have like the need to like practice tolerance all the time. But as a lay person, either in our pursuit of happiness as a lay person, either for the sake of our children, for the sake of our friends, or for the sake of our parents, we go through a lot of different like emotional turmoil, and then we have to deal with a lot of different type of persons. So as such, frankly, I feel like lay people have like a more opportunity to practice the Dharma. This is what I feel frankly sometimes. So what do you think about this? That lay people may be having like the more opportunity to practice the Dharma? Yes?
It was the first thing that I thought of when we spoke about number 4, because it says just to like read. Sorry. Yeah. No, number 3. Sorry. To take to solitary places, and I'm thinking to myself, but wait, isn't it better to practice with people around you who are making it harder for you, and then you can, if you're better at it in that place, you can help in a better way later.
Kurangi samji dharang sorsons, karjan sorsons 되게 간주 지강 디 시즌 숨바지어라. 디나라니 기시 간주 된데네 엄발라 도와 되어래다. 간주 모네기 냠네 치에나 미링오레 밍 오마지 냠도 요나니 코치니 소와도 줄레 인고라스. 내가 된데도 삼노 코르송스.
네, 아버라. 배아버라. 디 산도는 오네 코고에로 쳐버. 제가 단단 간주디 야 간사들이 니 치에라 치레 그리고 제가 간주 산도 땅 마투니게 람산루라 추쇼 람산 된데지나. 티 가가 되냐 쉬라. 내가 이게는 고도 쉬어이. 계시 된데 지금 저바곰 투니 아니 된데지 이마 있는데 그 시도 날 된다도 야 니라서 냐네 치에더라. 계시 된데 소소야 바르쳐줘. 바기바기를 매바데 소소 바르쳐줘이나 딜레 타르니 되냐라. 되나 가서니래요. 계시 군에 냠네 치투니 이나 단도 냠도 저바곰 거기 야고치라. 어디 냠네 치세야 하다. 따따르.
Yes, I think like it's a good thing that you are able to like think about that when you read the third stanza. And of course, I said like in Buddhism we have like different ways of like classifying like people with different capabilities. But we will not go into detail about this right now. But as I said before, of course, if you are able to practice tolerance and you are willing to like bear through the things that you have to go through when you are angry. When someone who's angry, like tries to show their anger to you, and you're willing to bear through it, and you are willing to practice tolerance, then of course, this is a very good teacher for you. This is a very good opportunity for you to practice tolerance. But then you're not willing to like bear through it, and then you're not you do not really think about practicing tolerance, and this is the case for most people. And then when you are easily angered yourself, then maybe the best course of action as an initial practice should be to put some distance between yourself and that type of person.
이 오지선 다나가서 셈나 따오 남발에 나서 셈나 따지 셔라더라. 수 따지 나 간데도 디하고고 뺏기 좀라. 나 간데도 나지 잡아져서 되는 지추주도 다도 lon선 되셔 시간 콘도 지추주나 수수 따로 나디 틀을 줘야 나 야고 매sam나 다른다. ngadi done dire nge tando ngara ide ma cha thwa ma mile phe tho gursana dithil drone tando mile ba muni gila ne ta ne ra wa che la so ba china ya ra te su ya pota ra ngadu kyo di chila ne ngadu la thu ma ra mi phagi ba la san ta ta ma ra yere khoyu nda ma ne samo cha nda ma ra yere ti ngadu chuna di china ya ra che di china ta ta la thu ma ra ine di gal nga khande te su ta che te pekisham.
So as I've stressed before, the main aspect of the Buddhist practice is to look inside yourself and try to have an inner transformation of your own mind. So of course, like, I cannot say, like, because we come from different backgrounds and then we speak different languages, of course we'll have different ways of thinking about things. But in the end, we all have the same ability to reason with ourselves. We have the same ability to introspect within ourselves. So as the Buddha said, like, you are your own master ultimately. So for that choice, no one can tell you to do something. You have to be able to make that decision yourself ultimately.
Penang tangi di pedo sha na ngara chinju gala ya nye pala zu puchinju ra ane tani medu zu nye tsan kya pala zu puchinju ru chele de gala pelu na yo ra ane tak mi gembala zo ba pepe ta mele mi gembala khane lo ya yo mar la ra lo da thu ma de be na lo khondo ngem ba de jo mi de thone ya ma ga ro de che ra jela san ta chunya me chen chen ale gemda chunju rene re ra khodo ki chunju la ne ma chunju chajo ne mare nge pala chunju la ne ma dandu churin do mare chamber la ne chen do mare kungoy ne de ki share gemda san je jel khali khali na de me bachar da jela khodo la ra ta ne gemu she ra bni ro ta te mo se ta san chi yo and chai da chunju ga le ne shun ne ra cha pala ji ga ama ji mo la na ra de ne ro chesan de ro su su de ga la zuba ko mo de chesan tamang ge malu den do ma su kha kha do shin ye shi ro mi ni zai mi ge ma de ni zai da ji de ni de de su kha kha su zhe mu za de ne shi ro ta je la ya chen bu cha ne su sam ta shin kem de ko din din ni din pa ta shin symbol ke ko jin da ra.
So if I give you a personal example that I had with like this type of experiences, when I was a young kid, my father, he was a very short person, and when the adults they were together, they used to call him like they used to tease him and nickname him and then call him short, and like they used to tease him and then they used to tease him very much. And as a kid, of course, my father is very dear to me, so I used to feel like a sense of anger, like why these people are teasing my father in this manner. And then I got so angry, and of course the elders, they wouldn't stop teasing him. So inside me, this anger like rose, wherein, like, you know, when I see these elders in a different social situation, even when I see their face, like this sense of anger, like it burns, it rises inside me. And so this is an example. But in our Tibetan custom, like, we have this saying, like, you should not talk back to your elders. So as such, like, I was kind of handicapped at that moment, but I was very angry as a kid because of this experience. But now, like, after years of study, then I look back on this experience and I find it very funny. And I'm kind of able to accept it now, because when I think about it, if these people call him short, that didn't make him short. If these people like tease him with that nickname, it doesn't make him shorter. And if these people call him like a tall guy as a form of teasing, then he certainly doesn't grow an inch. So I thought about it that way, and then like these days when I kind of think about it, I've come to an acceptance of that fact, and now like I'm able to like let go of that anger.
Tachidangi kansi nyena la de ngazu chi tenwa ina de ge kansa sunda wa shi ngazu de la tenwa ina ani khande chi la na nyeba se jiro de susu gi nyimi ta diba sa ye jije de ma me ba cha ra 딱 저거 zambo 때문에 저거 zam보다 해 zambo 개위 힘이 zam보라 아니 강시 니나 니바 세치르시니스 아니 연대 양무다다 표죠 근데 이 저거 zam보들 그랑게 진로차 니도 가르쳐야나 빼니 니마 저랑게 연대도 공내 패도 빼네 양무다다라 되게 다와디 집어찍는 다와 대표다로 쓰원으로와 아니 다와 친구이 마시면 안 집어니 수시간 안 정하들지 다와디 치신 약한 거라 제가 양무다달래 다와디 공내고도 니마를 해 치르치로 나시기 나라족이 연대대야 공내고도 저바이나 직거스나 장바이나 희제는 참아야 패도에게 되지나 근데 족보지나 라 뜻된 거래라라 되니 신년 당바랑기 류외장 신년 당발라데 수수 계획이니라 거는데 아니 지초로다 가리네라 도저 잠바 아니 자와 침부 쪽으로 해서라 랑기 류가라서 류디 간서 자와 침부 쪽으로 그래서 나나 나마주 차마주 나 감보 차마주 딱 가리니지 특히 드럼을 치고라 이메치는 샤모 공부데 아니 차와잖아지 차바코에 드니 공부도 차나 둘루투부 공부도 양측네 트럽 공부도 땅아주수 부도 쉬우 치고라 가라야 보데 된 나신이 된대기 아니 조보니 야포 잠보도 좀아주 수수 류 나신 류레 하와지니 신진 치고 다 야포 치고래 라라 제버런 점바 제셀라니 된대 제디 아니 가족이 제세 상추 점바도 저기 아니 냠네 레스
So now we move on to the sixth stanza of the text. And the sixth stanza, it says, the practice of all the Bodhisattva is to cherish spiritual friends. And by regarding them as even more precious than one's own body. Now this example is given that says like you should try to cherish your friend more than you cherish your own body. Because this example is given because like this physical body that we have, like we take care of it very much. Because we have to take care of what we eat, and when we are cold, we have to put something on. And when we are hot, then we have to like have a fan, or we need to move ourselves in a cooler place. So we are always taking care of this physical body. So as such, as much as we are taking care of this physical body, then we need to try to cultivate a relationship with our spirit, or we need to appreciate or cherish our spiritual friends even more than we care for our physical body. And then the example is given like, then what do you mean by spiritual friends? What do you mean by good friends? And then it's illustrated in the last two lines. A spiritual friend is someone in whose company you are able to abandon or get rid of all your faults, and like in whose company you have the opportunity to do good things, or like your virtues they grow when you are in their company. And the example is given like a spiritual friend, when you are in their company, the example is given like the waxing moon. So in the lunar calendar, when it starts from the first the moon is small, and then like until the 15th full moon, then like it keeps like getting bigger and bigger. So the example is a classical Tibetan way of like giving a metaphor. So like it says like this kind of qualities, these virtuous like qualities, it will grow like the waxing moon when you are in the company of spiritual friends.
이치라 다티네 페지 리서다 베다치가 샤도아 아디오 지간디 dim바딜라 겜루 땡도라 쳄순도아 당암정 남바이나 겜루라야 데페 개첨부 쪽어라 선 남바이기 틀레츠면서 쳄순도므로 군주스 쳄니 양다디 켈레 말레라 데리 쪽어라 남바 차야라 고도디 쳄루 차고래
So now like the seventh stanza, it talks about taking refuge in the three jewels. Now in the in Buddhism, the door from wherein like you enter Buddhism is taken to be the three refuge. Like you are a Buddhist if you are able if you take refuge in the three jewels. This is the mark of a Buddhist, like taking refuge in the three jewels.
What is three jewels?
No, she will explain.
세상 맞는 처음이다. 제가 다딘데 인디가라 디지디라 가르데는 라야 코에 저라 침바이 있으라. 딱 아주 코에 저라는 코아디 정하로 샹 아주 dinal de baro chira 정하나 나 좀바 되와나 시 din대로 침바 이스 지데 사이 껴버 쓰시니 스란 지데 사이 껴버 쓰시니 껴버 뉴스 아니 대시를 강라 껴버네 물루에 아니 콘조전에 제설라네 제상 아주 참마다나 나라서 참 코를 코디와 인자 지기지를 껴버려야 되게 갈래 커버와 지데 사이 사시 껴버 쓰시니 단 지데 단 지데 배 사이네 아주 저도 지당 아주 하시니데 자와 충분히 근데 쓰고라 근데 콘조도 위네 지데비 하루도 가서 과를 접두고 뭐 다이네 내가 가서 로바체로 또 알아서 인직 투여다는 근데 루스 줘라 줄루 신반네 요 말이네 딱 내가 로바체 투여하면서 아니 베드 거라 코아다 녀송도 들리나네 콘스 접두고 말해서 다디 접투니도 쓰라나 대시 강라 접니 물루알데 가서 접주고 접주바 나시기 그게 말르네 딱딱지처럼 접투니 라 근데 이 짭도 쓰려나 아니 콘조라 콘조들 손샤 사제고 주고 gendo고 손샤오라 근데 아니 콘조 점도 아니 제셀라네 이스 지단 지네 빌하도들때 첨부첨부 가서 지네고 춘주춘주 강에로 바시드 때 스텝 투어데 자원이 짭 전에 물로아래서는 말해 했으라 다디 짭데 물로아 저랑 베트 거라 코아다니 손도 들리기 정말 짭고니 짭던 것보다 아니 짭캔데 쓰려와이나 아니 콘조 손도 짭도 도고야 돼 저거라
Now, the seventh practice of a bodhisattva is to take refuge in the three jewels from the depth of your heart, and we take the refuge in the three jewels because in Buddhism, there are many different levels of gods, and there are gods, ordinary gods of this transient world, who do not have the ability to teach you the Dharma. So since these gods since these ordinary gods of this transient world will never be able to liberate you from the samsaric existence, the one who can is actually the three jewels or the three jewels. So since these ordinary gods of this transient world, since they are themselves trapped in samsara, they do not have the means to liberate you from samsaric existence. So now, if you take refuge in the three jewels from the depth of our hearts, then we take refuge in these three jewels because they do not betray our faith in them in providing liberation from samsara. And the three jewels in Buddhism are explained to be the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha as the teacher, the Dharma as the teaching, and the Sangha as the spiritual community.
아니 원래 다디 좋아들이라나 콘주순 간데스 잡고르스 나돌라 캡투에 니바트 간데스 잡고르라나 답변은 아주 간데로 쇼르라나 아니 배는 아주 런데제 시간이 못 두순줘라 봐 티 가나들 딱 저항 한번 마 저항 하시 켈레니지는 아주 레드는 게 뭐사요 봐라 근데 이들은 상제로 시대 편 그런 뉴먼 상황 저기 추기 뜨거나시 근데 말했어 라베게 쓸래네 쓸래네 마마 실을 뭐 이외요 말했어 아니 변나들 지지지야 투나 디버 추임 못시스라 투베게 아니 디버데 언저 칭어라서 디버데 추트야면서 로에 등에 로에게 심지어다지 등에디 아니 로에 등에 샤기 미실라레 라파게 말래 말했어 다 간데스 쳐고라나 춘이 덴바 때문에 좋아한지를 되게나 상제기 아니 코랑이 숨비 취라 덴바니라 좀 안 덴바 가르상도 덴바 시대 들이 취 덴바 투바 가르사 덴바 투바라고 말다 다 덴바 때문에 주나 아니 가르 덴바도 때문에 인자 아니 가르 투나도 취인데 요등이 차이면서 아니 또 보신다 그럼 춘이 덴바 때문에 좋아한지라 투나도 취임이든 요등이 차이면서 아니 니 또버전을 보면 제가 니 또버전을 보면 사제 코랑에 다 있는 사제를 다 희저서와 사제기 최통지 챈바다 아니 뉴모비 이 참마다 상사와 되게 윤대 주래 봐 이네 이 윤대리 아니 컨트롤 카두마 제마라 봐 뇌를 좀 니 또버전을 보면 니기 또바디 결혼을 마보 결혼이 사제를다 사제기 또바디 중산은 말을 떼와다 천족이 지기 말이 비고 뭐바기 되게 아니 로로바디 야래한다 되게 말했어 딱 간데서 고라나 아니 사제기를 탑치기를 탑디 가르라나 쉐된 드레스 딘데 마지 딘데 아니 간조 랑가 딩걸 드로와이나 다다 실레가 진짜 두어라 사제기 야부치고는 간조 베드 로저 잔세는 다다 드고
So now as you take refuge in the three jewels, why do we need to have this conviction that the three jewels have the ability to save or liberate us from samsaric existence? Now, how do they have the ability to save us or liberate us from samsaric experience? These three jewels, as the Buddha himself said, I cannot wash away the bad karmic sins, the bad karma that you have, or the bad sins that you have done, just like by washing it away with water. I cannot do that, and I cannot take your suffering, the suffering of the samsara, by just grabbing it with my hand and taking all the suffering. I cannot do that. But and I cannot magically exchange this qualities that I've achieved with all the negative qualities that you have. I cannot do that magically. So what can I do? What I can do is I can teach you the way. I can show you the path to reach at the source of suffering, and how to get rid of the source of suffering, and how to arrive at a true understanding of reality as it is. And this is the Dharma that I can teach you. This is the path that I can show you. So you need to be whether you walk the path or not, that is totally up to you.
제가 다디 단다디가 점도 송도가라 다오나 다나 사제기 취했대는라 아니 컨트롤 체크해야 되더라 다 사제디 제가 좀 햄바들 팬다 나서라 셔요 근데 샤와에는 저기 사제기 아니 취했대 거라서라 취했다 가서 저런 람도 디마제 디체라니 취했대는라 다디 사제디 가르서나 햄바를 쳐버렸어라 먼저 긴지된 도단지는 햄바를 샤 빼셔 아니 취디 먼저 햄라 Pedi Sawena and Chu de Carsanga Nasa the Tawara. Cheta Sanji is only choosing or trading on Yami Chewin, Maranzuki, Takalo, Lopata, and Chicken Lodi Pachutu. Today the children Yan Chewin, and Chicken New Bunny, Sanya the Ra, today and Sonam Side, the Pengu restaurant. Tawana, Tini the Sawena, and the Charala Cargolana, and Pena, Hemba, Mayor, Diane, Nasi Katu Chokra, Heship. 현실은 매 따따따 찍고야 돼. 이 안에 가서 아주 다나가서 주로도 차고 그랬어. 맨날 자와니 나서 주로를 가서 다든데도 다나가서 주인 염내실래디 지지를 예시 주출을 출시정을 지지로 받치 봐. 근데서는 아주 주로 차고 그랬어. 디디 안에 저기 pension받아 배시한 그랬어.
So maybe if we give this example, then you will have a better understanding of what are the three jewels and what are their qualities. In Buddhism, it's given the example of a sick person, and when he goes to the doctor is likened to the Buddha, wherein he's able to diagnose exactly what is wrong with a sick person. And then the medicine that the doctor prescribed is likened to the Dharma or the teachings. And then even if you have these two, the medicine and the doctor to diagnose the illness, if you don't have someone to look after you as you heal, then you do not really have the conducive conditions to heal. So the nurse, the one who actually helps someone to heal is likened to the spiritual community or the Sangha. So in this way, maybe you will have a better understanding of the qualities of the three jewels.
ra me de nima saoda de na shege sanji gi chue ya po ji sun yore ngand de pa sakala yor ra din de sunji de lo ba de nyamne che de jine ni so lo le jwa do de phe do ya da na shege me ga na la do amji ya po te ni me le ni ma kong nima me ko shoge gonda kan sa won ta sa wa ne kya na sa ta to do de chi pa shi.
So, like, as we continuing with this, like, same analogy, now, like, if the doctor prescribes you a medicine, and then, like, if the patient, he or she doesn't, like, eat the medicine on time, or does not even care about eating the medicine, then it's like then it's kind of pointless, to consult a doctor in the first place. So this is likened to the Buddha and the Dharma. So the Buddha, he has already, like, prescribed us the antidote, or prescribed the medicine for our illness. Now this is in the teachings. The scriptures are the antidote to get antidote to the negative afflictions that we have in our mind. And now whether we work at, like, getting rid of it, or whether we work at, like, practicing the Dharma, this is totally up in our own hand.
Yeah, suja pasin chera. Tijila ni nganzo.
Sure.
Totem.
Okay, now we break for tea and then meet again for the question and answer session.
Can I just ask for the Tibetan word of the three jewels? How it's like original?
Gunchok sum.
Kunjok.
Sum.
What is meant by the ordinary gods?
That chirdan jigdan gilha lana era khare lagi era so thiwa len len jana digra.
Didi jelde jenne de jide hala na khoraya khwal khodi ra ha kashi ani khwal te chawa ra kho kashi khwal na khoraya khodi bole.
So in Buddhism, like, gods are, like, classified into two types. The ones who are still exist, or who still, like, due to their afflictions, they are still roaming around in samsara. And then there are gods who are actually liberated from samsara. So this is the difference between ordinary god and, like, the other type of gods.
Ordinary gods are like living beings, like there are
Yes. Or jigden bel halana nganzo do the doa
nalo la yejo ga thade ni ra khora je tanda pe sanji ko ma thayo ma ra.
Yes.